So we're going to do a little bit of data manipulation here using Microsoft Excel. So I've got a worksheet opened in Excel. I open it up and I have this blank sheet. I've already entered some numbers, don't mind that. But if we want to enter some data, it's simply a matter of typing in some number and hitting enter or hitting the down key or whatever you want to do. So I'm just typing in some numbers and hitting enter, and I go down the row. So here I've entered a big long string of data, and what we can do is do some simple calculations with it. So what I can do here is, here's my row of data. If I get down to the end, I can type in some simple commands that give me some information I might want. So for this quantitative variable, what I can do is say equals, and type in average, and then what I can do is hit parentheses, and then I want to highlight my column of data. So I can do that either by clicking the left mouse button, holding it, and rolling down for my whole column. Or what I can do is click either the top value or the bottom value, go to the other end of the column, hit shift and left click, and that highlights that whole column, and then I hit enter. So what it says up here is equals average of A1 colon A78. So if you notice up here, the columns are labeled letters, the rows are labeled with numbers. This says I'm going from cell A1, so the intersection of column 1, so here's A1, column A, row 1, down to A78, which is column A, row 78. So there I've got the average. And then I could type in median, and again I could highlight that column of data, hit enter, that tells me the median. Okay. And I could type in equals ST. You see all these things pop up down here. So what I'm going to do is hit this. There's a function that says estimate standard deviation based on a sample. So I can double left click that. It types that in there. And again, it has that parentheses there. I can highlight the column and hit enter. So I've got the average of that set of data, the median of that set of data, the standard deviation of that set of data. Okay, so now typing these things in, what it does is it's looking at this set of data that's above it. So if I were to, let's say, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to type in some numbers. And then I'm going to copy and paste just to build a long column. And I'll show you something you can do. So say I entered that first column is for one population, the second column is for another population, and they have the same number of data elements. So here there are 78 values, here there are 78 values. If I left click and highlight these three cells, so what they do is they calculate the average, the median, and the standard deviation. If I highlight those and click Control C for copy, and then go over beneath this column and hit enter, I just pasted. So what this does now it calculates the little formula transfers over. So these three commands find the average, median, and standard deviation for the first 78 rows in the column. So what this does, when you copy those, it takes that relative reference with it, and it says, okay, if I copy and paste that here, I'm finding the average of these first 78 rows in this column. And if I went over here, if I copied this, Control C, and went over here and pasted that there, I get a bunch of gobbledygook. But what it's finding is it's the average of the first 78 rows in this column, the median of the first 78 rows in this column, and the standard deviation of the first 78 rows in that column. So if I ended up, for example, I'm going to cheat. So if I copy this row of data and put it over here, well, now it calculates the mean, the median, and the standard deviation for those 78 numbers. Okay? So average, median, and mean. Average, median, and standard deviation. Now another way you can quickly find the average of a column of data, so if I highlight this whole column of data values, whether you drag, you click on the left and scroll down, or whether you hit the two top points, however you highlight it, down here on the bottom, you'll see average. So count 78, so there are 78 data values, and the average of those is 39.23076923. Well, that's just this one rounded. Okay, so that's the way you can find the average. So that's kind of the basics of what we could do with mean, median, standard deviation in Excel.